All right, everybody, welcome back to the Titans Table for Two in the two-tone blue. I'm Christian, and that's Andrew.
And with our special guest with us, Jordan Dajani, CBS Sports.
Special guest, man. It's a Titans Table for Three today, guys. We're going to talk a lot today about everything's been going on since we've been gone. We got Cam versus Jeff. Cam has a great practice. We've got a couple guys returning to the team. Titans versus Vikings coming up, the last big test before the season gets started. We're going to talk about all that when we come back. All right, everybody. We appreciate everybody being here. Before we get started, I appreciate it if you tighten up that like button, subscribe button, comment down below, anything you'd like to add to the discussion. We'd love to hear it from you guys. CPN Network, shout out to Curtis Podcast Network. We got a podcast for just about every team out there. In particular, we'd love for y'all to check out this AFC South show, which is combined of our show, Titans Table for Two. We got Unstable, the Colts podcast. Andrew's going to have to help me out with the Texans. I can never remember
that Real Texans team podcast.
That Real Texans podcast.
Third and Teal, the Jags. We actually got Eric from Third and Teal right here, and Kingmaker Sports. That's Justin from Unstable. So they're already in here supporting.
Absolutely, man. Go show all those guys some love. Whatever your team is, man, go check them out and go check out CPN. A lot to talk about, guys. Lots been going on. Go ahead.
I had a question for just to get us started, George. So, what does the offseason look like for you?
What off season? There's no such thing as an off season. Right?
Exactly. What are you doing? What does training camp look like for you?
It's tough. I mean, starting with the off season, you got to lead up to the combine, then you got the draft, and you got free agency, then you got everything that goes into rookie mini camp. It accelerates very quickly, so it's fun. My job for CBS Sports is really to cover the league as a whole. So I'm not necessarily Titans 365, even though I'm here in Nashville, and that's probably my favorite team. But it's definitely really fun. I'll put it that way. There's a lot of things to pay attention to. No, there's not a lot of traveling involved. I don't think CBS wants to give me, pay me to go travel around. But I've done some cool stuff. Like I've made my trips out to like the corporate offices in Fort Lauderdale. I went to the Super Bowl when the Chiefs played the 49ers. That was a really fun adventure as well, getting to take part in media week and things like that.
Bucket list, right?
Yeah. It definitely was. It was a really fun experience. So not a lot of travel involved. I'm fully remote, which I'm 100% fine with.
Yeah, I was going to say, depending on your personality, man, that might be better for you. I think I would enjoy that much better than traveling all over the place all the time, being on call. So,
unlike my job, where all I do is talk to people all day.
So real quick before we get into really just Titans news, a couple of subjects I wanted to kind of ask you about and just talk about. Micah Parsons. I know everybody's just salivating right now. There's a few teams for sure. Tampa Bay maybe being one. The Patriots maybe being one that would be a good fit. The Titans also possibly could be a good fit. We're looking to try and get better and younger, but Parsons is not an old guy. We've got a lot of money in the future that's available. It could be a fit. What's your take on that?
The question is Jerry Jones dumb enough to let Micah go?
Yeah, those are two really good questions there. I mean, I don't think the Tennessee Titans are necessarily fit. I feel like Micah Parsons would be a really sexy addition for a team that, similar to Tennessee, is undergoing a change in identity, but also has the cap space to do it. When I look at the Titans, I identify them as one of the worst teams in the NFL, unfortunately. And having someone like Micah Parsons is not going to right all your wrongs. So having to give up multiple first-round picks or a defensive starter or a package of picks, whatever it may be, is not exactly ideal to me in the in Tennessee's situation. If you're the New England Patriots, that might be a more enticing offer because they really revamped that roster. They've got a coach of the year favorite, unfortunately, in Mike Vrabel. It feels like that's a team that's really starting to ramp up. And they have high expectations. I'm not saying they're not going to meet them. But I also point out the Green Bay Packers would be a team to watch when it comes to Micah Parsons and a potential trade. Now, will Micah Parsons end up getting traded? That's the question everyone wants to know. And I don't know, but if you're asking me to make a bet on it, I don't think he's going to get traded. I think Jerry Jones understands that he is one of the most unique, dominant, dynamic pass rushers in today's NFL. It was always understood you're going to have to pay him top dollar. But there's a lot of different aspects to a contract. And what makes this situation seem incredibly messy, and it may be as messy as it's been advertised, is that Jerry Jones is going back and forth trying to negotiate with Micah Parsons in March and April without his agent present and try to nail down some of the specifics with the contract, which you can't do with a contract of historic proportions. It was never going to go that way. But the other part of this is that Jerry Jones loves the soap opera aspect.
I was saying, he just loves being in the news, right? He just wants to be in the news.
Attention. He doesn't care about the negative attention. Have you been watching that Cowboys documentary? How his entire tenure started?
That's why I laughed when you said, I couldn't help but laugh. It's true. He's just always
fire a legend on your first day, make everyone hate you. He embraces it, right? So, I still think there's a decent possibility they're able to come together. I think it's a good sign that Micah's been in the building. He's not practicing, but he's in the building. They had their big team open public practice this week, 2 sessions. He was there for those, I believe. So, it's really messy right now. But again, I feel like he's going to end up getting a deal done. It's just kind of scary because 2 weeks from tonight, they kick off the season against the champion rival Philadelphia Eagles. Who knows if Micah Parsons is in legitimate football shape? So there's a lot of questions around this saga, if you will.
On the same wavelength, what about Trey Hendrickson? What do we think? I think he's more likely to get traded than Micah is.
Someone asked me the other day, because remember that was the Commanders-Bengals preseason game in primetime on ESPN, Monday Night Football, whatever. Someone asked me what was my biggest takeaway from that game, because it was a really exciting and fun first half. I told them that my main takeaway was not Mitchell Tinsley catching 100 touchdowns or their backup quarterback looking like a stud, Jake Browning. I would say that it was that Trey Hendrickson was in the building, on the sideline, wearing Bengals gear. Remember, that game took place in Washington. That's another team that's dealing with another significant holdout with Terry McLaurin. McLaurin was not in the stadium for that day, but the Trey Hendrickson was in Bengals gear. So if you're asking me between Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson, Terry McLaurin, these notable holdouts, which one gets done first, it's truly a crapshoot. I don't feel confident in an answer, but I almost lean towards Trey Hendrickson because we've seen reporting say that when it comes to AAV and different structures of the contract, they're actually in agreement with some of these aspects. But the guarantee structure, that's what they're arguing about right now. So we don't know how all these situations are comparing and contrasting with each other. But the fact that we have that reporting saying that Trey Hendrickson has been negotiating and they agree on some things, that's got to make you feel a little bit better as a Bengals fan, even if that defense is going to suck once again this year.
Well, it sucks with him, though. It doesn't going to suck without him.
I tend to agree, though. I think more times than not, we talk about these things and they end up getting done most of the time. We mentioned this on an episode a couple weeks ago. I think it was the TJ Watt situation that was being talked about.
And then it got done,
And more, it did. I think it was the next day. These things, more times than not, they end up getting done. And Jerry is Jerry. He's going to Jerry. And I think that's all it really is, particularly.
We got somebody in here. We got a question for Jordan already in the chat. He said, put him on the hot seat now. What's the realistic outlook for the Titans' record this season? I think anything short of undefeated is unrealistic.
Man, it seems like there's It seems like there's a lot of optimism in Nashville, right? With Cam Ward coming into town, potentially a generational quarterback, and hopefully the franchise is on even footing after the disaster that was 2024. I'm not there yet. I don't know if you guys read that article that I did. I called it the Titanic collapse. It was like 10,000 words, the timeline of everything that happened with Tennessee.
I looked at it.
What I hope that people realize, and again, it was 10,000 words in at the very bottom. That's the part I wanted people to realize and read. Was that I talked about how there's as much reason to be pessimistic about this team as there is reason to be optimistic about this team. I don't want to come on here and say that Brian Callahan's a dead man walking and he can't coach in this league. I don't know that for a fact. I'm saying that that's what it kind of looked like in 2024. And one thing I continue to bring up is that, there was a lot of promise with Will Levis entering last season. And I went back and watched his rookie tape. Like, I'm not an idiot. Like, there was reason to be optimistic about what he could bring to the table in his first full year as a starter. Then he kind of turned into what I would describe as somewhat of a head case. And why did that happen under the guidance of the offensive mind that you handpicked to bring into your organization and develop that guy? Why did he get worse
it's
under
not
the
an
offensive
irrelevant
mind
factor. Yeah, it's not an irrelevant factor.
And,
and that let's segue into that, though, a little bit. I don't mean to cut you off there, but that was a big story as well this week that I think it was it Teron Davenport?
Yeah, it was.
Came out and kind of let it be known that, they thought about just wiping the whole plate clean and starting over. And that's kind of been my issue the last few years, were these forced marriages between GM and coach. You fire one, then fire the next. And I almost thought that's what would have been better. Honestly, it was just, and no offense to Callahan, but I'd hate to do that after 1 year with a guy, but that is correct. That's not an irrelevant factor. And I've been kind of trying to hold Callahan's feet to the fire, man. I'm not giving him, I don't like the play calling over the last couple of years, just to be frank. So I'm not sold on him, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are smart football fans. What was the identity of the Titans offense last year? There wasn't one.
Bad O-line. Yeah, it was just
sacks,
sacks and turnovers.
NPF and Jalen Duncan.
Yeah, there was no identity. It wasn't legible. And we still don't know what the identity of this team is going to be entering 2025. And I genuinely think that's a very tough undertaking for any head coach that's in a new situation or revamping things or changing how they did things. And that's what Callahan's doing, even though he's entering year 2, is trying to establish that identity and make it known what his football team is going to be about. And again, there are a lot of head coaches that have failed that have been unable to do just that. So that's my pessimism rant when it comes to the Titans. Yeah, sure. I apologize if you're a perennial optimist.
I am a perennial optimist, so that's me. But I'm also a realist in the sense of, I think a win for this season isn't there's not a number on it, like on a win total. The win for this season, if you week 18, season's over, you say, "Oh, we've got our guy at quarterback," though. Like the season went this way, but it's kind of like the Patriots. They didn't win a lot of games last year, but they can feel confident saying, "Oh, Drake May, he might have had some bad moments to be like, that's our guy. We have a guy."
Yeah.
Titans, it's about Cam Ward and Callahan this year.
Other than those little 2.5 years of Tannehill, we haven't had a guy since McNair, there's been moments, Mariota had moments and Vince Young had moments, but we haven't had a guy.
And you nailed it real quick. But everyone's talking about this season, the headliner is Cam Ward, what he can show you, how he develops. Yes, that is a major storyline. But to be honest with you, the way I look at it, the main storyline to me is Callahan. There are more parts of a football team than just your quarterback. Of course, I want to see Cam Ward succeed and have success right off the bat. But if I can see a legible identity of a team and I can see them progress and get better week to week where they're not falling apart towards the end of the season, I don't care as much about the wins and losses. If I can see progress from the quarterback, from the head coach, from the play calling, from the team at large, that's what I want to see in 2025.
If you I think I heard Zach Lyons say this and I agreed with him. If you have an offensive team that's averaging 25 points a game and they go 4-13 is way different than an offensive team that's scoring 16 points a game and goes 4-13.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I'll be the optimist on the other side.
Yeah, everybody agreeing with you in the chat. He's right on the money, spitting facts.
We got the pessimism out of the way. I will give a little bit of the optimism. I'll say that hopefully it looks like we're going to have a lot better quarterback play this year.
Offensive lines looked a lot better in the preseason.
Offensive line is better,
but way better.
We've got some more weapons on
I forgot what a pocket looked like for a few years there. So since Lawan tore his ACL the second time,
Tyler Lockett and Cam Ward, I'm kind of excited about because they seem to have kind of got a little bit of chemistry going as well in practice. So
he's just a savvy vet for sure.
Yeah, and the linebackers are better than last year, in my opinion. I think Cody Barton's a better than Kenneth Murray was.
He's a better version of Kenneth Murray for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And cornerback, you could say, is maybe weaker this year for sure. But
it's the same guys, really. Snead wasn't there. It's a tougher
schedule, though, too. It's a tougher schedule than last year, in my opinion. And so it's a double-edged sword there, man. But there are some things I get why people are excited. And
it's the season of optimism. Everybody was the Super Bowl winner in August.
Dude, we were excited about Levis last year, though.
I know.
We were excited about Levis the same time.
I did have before we just deep dive into all the Titan stuff, I did have a couple more league questions for you. Just mainly teams that are in our division. The Colts QB, they announced Daniel Jones as a starter. Does that really change the trajectory of that team? I feel like it's the same win total, whether it's AR or I would rather have AR just because the draft pick that you put into him, and he's a little more athletic. I know Daniel Danny Dimes has some legs on him as long as he's not tripping over his own feet. But what do we think of that situation right there?
Your floor will be higher, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know about your ceiling, but your floor is higher. And I said this on 104.5 when they signed Daniel Jones. I said the Colts internally, it looks like they believe that if they just have a consistent presence under center, and when I say consistent, I mean that can make your basic throws, which Anthony Richardson struggled with, but also your availability. If you can stay healthy, and I'm not saying Daniel Jones is the most, he's definitely somewhat injury prone. I'm not trying to say he's not, but he can play more games and suit up more than Anthony Richardson can. I feel confident in saying
hurt on like the second play of the preseason game. So.
Yeah, exactly. So the Colts believe if they have a more consistent presence under center, then they believe that they can be a playoff team. That's the way I look at it. Now, is Daniel Jones a top 20 quarterback in the NFL? No, I'm not leaning that way at all. But again, they think that they have the offensive line and the weaponry where they just have a consistent quarterback that can make the simple plays that Anthony Richardson could not. Then they think that their ceiling actually will be higher than the guy who tore up the NFL Combine a few years ago.
Yeah.
Their weaponry reminds me of the Packers' weaponry, like a really good running back and a bunch of wide receiver twos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Steichen is doing what's best for him.
I mean, is he a one? I mean,
he's like a border one in my opinion. Like I would lean towards that. Like with the Packers, I wouldn't say they have a one unless that's going to be Matthew Golden. Michael Pittman's a perimeter threat, and Alec Pierce can be your deep ball guy. So I'm not saying they have one of the best.
I do like Josh Downs too.
Josh Downs flashed a ton in his early NFL action as well.
And maybe with a quarterback making the basic throws, they look a little bit better.
I think it's just about Daniel Jones. He can just win you more games, it feels like, than Richardson can right now. And honestly, if Steichen's not going to be there in a couple years, he doesn't care what the Colts roster looks like in a couple years. He's trying to win right now so that he can keep his job.
And last thing I'll say
same with Callahan.
Same with Callahan. The last thing I'll say too is, I thought the quotes coming out from the head coach and the quarterbacks coach with Indy were pretty telling as well. Like the head coach said, I'm not going to have a short leash on this. Like Daniel Jones is the starter for the season.
He did say that's our quarterback.
This competition's over. And then the quarterbacks coach had a really interesting tweet. I actually even quote tweeted it. I'll find the exact wording. But they asked him did they fail Anthony Richardson or did AR kind of fail the staff? And the quarterbacks coach, Cam Turner, said that I feel like I've tried everything I can do. And I feel like he's giving great effort in that aspect too. I don't think either way it's one or the other. I'll tell you what he's saying that he's not saying, and that's that we tried really hard with Anthony Richardson. And I honestly think that a lot of that quote has to do with his availability. Like even if we were making strides with him, all of a sudden he gets hurt. If we're making strides, all of a sudden he takes himself out of the game.
He'll never live that down, the tap out. Never.
Yeah, that's bad though.
I feel like he failed in a lot of different aspects with the Colts. And that was the most frustrating thing to ownership and the coaching staff as well.
We got
it's funny. I wanted Anthony Richardson bad that year. he was who I wanted. Oh yeah. That's who I was mesmerized by those combine numbers, man.
We got two more questions for Jordan in the chat now. What do you think is the difference between the pick at QB compared to the hype we've seen in the past from Titans drafting QBs? Historically speaking, we've been terrible at drafting that position. So
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they're different on a lot of different fronts, right? First of all, number one overall pick. This is supposed to be your quote unquote generational prospect, but I never looked at Cam Ward as I like Caleb Williams better as a prospect. I like Jaden Daniels better as a prospect. I thought Cam Ward was the number one quarterback in this class, but I didn't look at him and said he's on his way to Canton. Even if he's wired in that way that looks like a Hall of Famer and he's mature way beyond his years.
He definitely has that.
I didn't look at him as like this supreme can't miss guy. There was a debate about it.
If Cam came out in 2024, which number off the board as far as quarterbacks do you think it had been?
See, that's a really good question. I mean, it might be 4.
It's hard to tell because
I've seen people have him as low as 7.
Yeah.
Now, if he's coming out right now, because where he was at Washington State, where he came out as Miami, is two different people.
Oh yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
After his Miami season, I think he's 4. I think he actually goes before JJ McCarthy and probably Bo Nix. Honestly.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. But yeah, to finish up, like Vince Young, super excited about that prolific production at Texas. The dual threat aspect too is like I was in love with that in terms of like being a kid and growing up with that. And he was rookie of the year, right? the Titans were in a bad spot, and he was able to make some of those flash plays and some of those game-winning plays, even if they weren't going to be a Super Bowl contender. And if Cam Ward can do something like that, not having that dual threat ability potentially, but if he can do something like that where they say, hey, we've got something, because that's what we were saying about Vince Young, like, hey, we've got something, I would love that. That's what I would like to see from Cam Ward this year for sure.
Okay. Yeah, there was some exciting years there with Vince Young for sure, man.
Definitely.
This is a pretty good question right here. League-wide question for Jordan. Without mentioning Taylor Swift, what are some storylines for this season that might get the wife interested?
Oh, gosh. Geez. Get her hooked up with fantasy football. That's a really quick way to get her interested,
Trevor
right? Get her start
hair, maybe.
Trevor Lawrence is a very pretty man. Yeah, he has great hair.
Alan is married to an actress now too. You know.
Oh yeah, there's some famous like actresses that Taylor Swift's a musician, but there's some famous people that are dating or married to NFL stars, right? Like, isn't Josh Allen? Who's he?
Yeah, I was just about to
Haley
mention him. I can't remember her name.
Steinfeld, whatever it is. Yeah.
I'm not good with actors and actresses.
See, I'm not a pop culture guy at all.
No.
Like, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Wrestlers and football players.
Nobody will bring in what Taylor Swift brings. She's the biggest superstar in the world.
Yeah,
from right where we are, like, you know, right.
Crazy.
Her house is probably a mile from where you live, Jordan. You know, like
the high school she went for like 1 year is right in the backyard.
Yeah, and we went. JP2.
Her brother went to my high school, and
yeah,
I ate at McDonald's apparently with her one day. Didn't even know it.
Wow, that's a story.
Are you a fantasy football
she
guy,
was like
Jordan?
famous and stuff. Like,
what did you say?
Are you a fantasy football guy?
Yeah, I'm a fantasy football guy, of course.
Guy saying if you're drafting 4th or 5th in a 12-team PPR league, who are you taking? I need help.
I guess. Well, it definitely matters who goes ahead of you. I think.
I'm thinking Chase.
I always follow the draft board.
Saquon, then Chase, Saquon, Bijan. And so Gibbs, Gibbs is right there.
You nailed it. I'm extremely high on Jahmyr Gibbs because
Jahmyr Gibbs or Jefferson right there at 4 or 5, depending on who's there.
The Lions are undergoing a complete change in offensive philosophy, in my opinion, with the new OC. And anytime you do that, you're relying on your stars. And Detroit's got a few stars with Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams going deep. But Jahmyr Gibbs has really flashed as that electric playmaker who can get the ball in his hands and do a lot of different things. So when it comes to fantasy, Jahmyr Gibbs was my first-round pick. I forgot where I picked in my dynasty draft. He was a free agent. But that was the guy who I took with my first-round pick. So if you're sitting at number 4, I think Jahmyr should definitely be in consideration.
Absolutely.
Philip is in my league. He said not a great thing for the host to know my pick, Jordan. I picked before you, dude. I picked first.
Yeah, you nailed it. You said it before me. That's true.
I actually agree with you on like the whole Lions offense thing, because if you're talking fantasy, I don't think David Montgomery's a great pick this year.
No, this is probably the year he finally doesn't have like that really nice fantasy.
The 50-50. Yeah. So
the Lions have turned into a real fun team to watch.
I have one more league question before we get into all the Titans. I saw your article already on it, but just to kind of iterate to the crowd, Jimmy Ward, what's all going on with that situation?
Jeez,
that's a crazy story, by the way.
Yeah, we actually got like, I think anyone can, but someone who I work with got me access to like the court documents. So I was able to read over the lawsuit. And I mean, there was a super scary story about the woman who is the mother of Jimmy Ward's child, saying that Jimmy has sexually and physically assaulted her multiple times over the last year, and gave stories about that and talked about how he's a drug user and that he, during one of the instances that he apparently was on crystal methamphetamines, which of course is not a good look at all. But I don't know how those things are going to proceed. I'm sure that this lawsuit is something the NFL is going to be aware of. He's already been arrested twice in the past couple months. One was for the assault and one was for violating the terms of his bail. And I think he tested positive for alcohol. And in the lawsuit itself, it actually claims that he has violated the conditions of his release more times than one. So that and everything about it screams messy, but that in itself about him violating the terms of his bail multiple times, reportedly, allegedly, that sounds really scary as well. And Jimmy Ward was a really good player, man, coming over from San Francisco, former first-round pick, D'Amico Ryan's hand-picked guy to control the back end. He's only played in 10 games in each of the last 2 years due to a foot injury. But yeah, so that was a pretty big story today, and I guess we'll just kind of have to see how that shakes out.
We're just going to assume he's probably not going to be on the team. So just because we're on that right now, and I didn't actually don't know if you any updates on CJ Gardner-Johnson, because it was so weird when it first came out. He tore his ACL, he didn't tear it. Have they said any updates recently about that?
I actually haven't heard anything. I haven't checked really, but I did remember the last thing I saw was that he did not tear his ACL.
Yeah, that's the last thing I saw as well.
Yeah. So that's good news. I don't know what exactly he's dealing with. I haven't really looked into it. I don't know if it's going to affect his availability week 1. It might. But that all of a sudden becomes an incredibly important part of your defense without having Jimmy, allegedly. And he's also a guy you traded for, right? Like he's a guy who just came off a Super Bowl victory who's extremely competitive. Your defense is better when he is in the secondary. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, such a good defense all around already,
Yeah.
What are we laughing at?
I'm just this headline here on CBS Sports right here, man. It says Cowboys Jerry Jones claims Micah Parsons' agent spiked negotiations, told us to stick it up our ass.
Yep.
Great quote.
It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy, dude.
That again goes back to I think this is when I read that or heard that on Michael Irvin's podcast. That goes back to what the early negotiation periods when the agent wasn't there, when he was trying to get a deal done with Micah, kind of.
Yeah, that's what it was kind of. Yeah, that was kind of.
We don't need him.
Yeah. I think that's what he's referring back to, right? Like that's logical.
Yeah. That's what it was kind of going on about. That just made me chuckle. The headline there. That was funny. Anyway,
all right. So we'll jump into some Titan stuff.
Yeah, the big thing that I don't want to call it a big thing because I think this is something that probably happens all week long, every week of the offseason.
Every camp.
It's not a big deal. I think it's just the two names that have been really popular. Everybody's been real into the brotherly relationship between the two. Had a little scuffle between Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons. Both of them have spoken afterwards. Just touch on it a little bit because I know everybody's kind of been thinking about it.
Don't worry about it. There's no story here. It's kind of, if I'm being honest with you, like it's a fun headline. And I'm sure that's why like ESPN put it out there. And I'm sure that's why I think CBS even wrote off that ESPN report. But dude, I'm old enough to remember when Cam Newton and Josh Norman were like punching each other.
Yeah, man.
I remember Vince Young punching Donnie Nicky.
There you go. Titans legend Donnie Nicky.
Donnie Nicky, special teams legend, dude. My favorite part about the whole
long story short, it happens. It's not a big deal for anybody.
Yeah, it happens. It happens basically every practice, and maybe you don't see it necessarily between teammates, but that 100% does happen. Like the joint,
is insane, man. Like to go push Jeffrey Simmons, dude. And then
that's my favorite part about the whole thing. When they ask him, he goes, "What'd you learn?" Jeff's strong as shit.
I was kind of like tickled by it when I first heard it. I was like, "Oh, dude, like, man, he's got."
I loved it. Like even before, I was like, "Man." They're two. You need dogs on your team, and those are just a couple of dogs.
It's not breaking news that those two have been jawing at each other ever since they met on the practice field. Like, that's what you want. That's what you want from your top two dogs.
Yeah, exactly. And I love to see it personally. I was kind of tickled by it. I thought it was great. I was kind of happy to hear it, honestly, because I know Will Levis, Marcus Mariota, Jake Locker, Ryan Tannehill. None of those guys are doing that.
Probably not. No.
All right, Titans question. Who ends up being the weakest link on this year's upgraded offensive line? Injuries or poor play? I think
injuries or poor play?
I don't want to speak. You could. I was going to say Cushenberry just till you see what he is coming back. Honestly.
Yeah, I think it's, if you're asking me for a player, it's easily Lloyd Cushenberry. And I love Lloyd Cushenberry. Like I thought he was – I didn't think he was a Pro Bowler before he went down with his injury last year, but you paid him historically guaranteed money. The thing is, like, he's trying to – it seems like he's trying to rush back. Like, his timeline –
November for that big of a dude on an Achilles?
No. Like, and if I were the Titans, a medical staff or a doctor or anyone associated with that, I would be trying to tell them, I know we're playing your former team in your former city week 1, but, dude, like, let's prioritize your long-term health. We want to have you in week 12 when we're trying to really progress as a team, not just week 1, week 2, and then all of a sudden something snaps again. So I'm nervous about that. I don't know how they're going to handle him with that, but I'll put it this way: if I were Callahan or the OC when I'm speaking and they ask me about Lloyd Cushenberry, I'd like to put some things out there saying like, it's a process. We're working through
Mhm.
things, not stuff like he's ramping up and he's activated off pup.
On the
He's back in
word,
practice. That scares me. So yeah, I'm scared about that for sure. I hope that Dan Moore is not a weak link. People really criticize that contract. I understand why. At the same time, it's free agency. But I will point out that the Steelers were probably not upset to lose him either. But maybe with the change of scenery, with this upgraded unit, that is something that could work for him. He's got the intangibles
we can opt out of that one in a couple of years too, can't we? I think
Dan Moore.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's that big of a. It doesn't hit the pockets too hard or anything. While we're on the O-line real quick, how many do you think we take into the regular season? Do you think 8 or 9?
I think 9's a good number.
So does that mean that is Crenshaw Dixon going to be number 9?
Potentially. I don't know that for a fact. I mean, he's been kind of up and down, right? It's not he hasn't been somebody who has been like a complete standout to me by any means. But here's what I will say about that. The reason I hesitated to answer is because it might look like we're going with 7 or 8 with the 53-man deadline. But I really feel like the Titans are going to claim a couple of guys with that number 1 claim when it comes to that roster cut down day as well.
That's true too. Yeah, that's another factor as well. Yeah, I think absolutely. They're going to hit the waiver hard.
I got a couple things on it. First, when it comes to Lloyd, you have a good backup. Like, now, I mean, he's not
Corey
a world
Levin.
Beater, but Corey Levin's a solid backup.
Solid backup, yeah.
He's solid.
If you're looking
I would definitely
at for keeping 9. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Keeping 9. I think 9, and that's just without the waiver wire. If I'm looking at it without waiver, I mean, you have your 5 starters. Levin's making this team. I think Blake Hanson's making this team. Ruptich, and I think Jalen Duncan. Only good things have come out about how much Jalen Duncan's improved since last year.
Well, you also Udo.
Udo's been really well too. Yeah.
And here's one thing about Jalen Duncan. Like I'm a Maryland guy. Like I loved him coming out, and I think there was a lot of people out there who had draft crushes on him, and maybe were a little surprised where he went. I'm kind of wondering if he might be trade bait. Like if he's somebody you see actually moved. I don't think he's going to be straight up cut, but I do think if he could be someone who might be trade bait potentially.
Because he falls into that good backup swing tackle kind of vibe where he can play both sides.
Yeah, he's but people have complained about him not being like a dog. You know what I mean? Not being like an a-hole.
Yeah.
Would you want one of those guys on the line? And you don't. I'm not saying you necessarily need that to be a great player, but when you're a backup trying to find your footing in the league, it really helps if you have that kind of mentality. So
sure.
And I brought up him kind of being a draft crush of many. One thing I'll tell you is that all the NFL teams are trying to talk to each other this week about what players are you potentially cutting. I kind of like this guy. Can we throw you a late round pick for him? So
there's already been 4 or 5 trades in the last 24 hours.
There's already been a ton. Yeah. So I feel like Jalen Duncan kind of objectively fits into that category unless Tennessee is really confident in him and think that he can be a quick guy off the bench.
Yeah.
We got a question here, and it kind of goes into the next 2 things I wanted to bring up, which is perfect. Where do you see the Titans defense ranking compared to the top defense in the league?
I don't feel good about this unit at all. And it's crazy that they finished number 2 last year, right? In yards because the special teams were so bad.
Gave them so many short fields.
Dude, go back and look at that Lions-Titans game. Remember that? It wasn't even
it started inside the 30 like 5 times.
I'll never do it again.
Do you know how many total yards the Lions put up in a 52?
It was like 181 or something like that.
Or something?
It was less than that.
225.
Yeah.
200,
oh, gosh, it's lower than I thought. Yeah. I knew it was low.
yards of total offense, and you score 52 points.
Woo!
I'm pretty sure they started in the 30 like 5 times.
Yeah, that was an atrocious special teams game. I do remember that now being
it was a weird game.
Yeah.
But listen, I would love for Tennessee to be in the top half of the league. That'd be magical to me because I have grave concerns about this unit as a whole. If you were asking me to identify the strength, I'd probably say interior defensive line if T'Vondre Sweat can stay healthy. I think this pass rush unit could be potentially one of the worst in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Cody Barton is an upgrade at linebacker, but he's not a perennial Pro Bowler. and who starts next to him, which we'll get into. Are they going to be someone who learns on the fly and is good? What about the cornerback position? Is L'Jarius Sneed ever going to be okay? I love Jarvis Brownlee, but what about the depth of that position? At safety, Amani Hooker is definitely a mainstay. But is Xavier Woods actually going to be your top guy? What about Kevin Winston if he's healthy? This Quandre Diggs, who was a great player during the early part of the last season, is he going to be someone who emerges as that second safety? So I got questions kind of all across the board.
There's a lot of questions.
The one benefit I have about this defense is I'm a firm believer in Denard Wilson. That dude is a dog. He schemes up stuff. He was like who I wanted before we even knew who our head coach was. I was like, I want that dude to be my defensive coordinator.
I really like him too, and especially where he comes from. I was a big Maryland guy. Like I told you, he's a former Maryland defensive back coming from Baltimore, learning under the best, aggressive scheme.
Philadelphia, he was there for a while too.
He won a Super Bowl or was at the Super Bowl with Philly. But who would characterize the Titans' defense as one of the most aggressive in the NFL? No one would. The Titans weren't
aggressive. Not Brian Flores or something like that. Yeah.
But that's what Denard wants to be. And at the same time, you have to kind of marry this weird relationship of being aggressive, but also having the playmakers where you can be aggressive. And the Titans don't have those guys coming off the edge that can give you flexibility with your scheme. So I feel like Denard's in a really tough spot, to be honest with you. I like him at face value as a coach, but I'm really concerned about the defense at large.
I think they believe Femi can be that guy, but he obviously has a ton to learn. He's
another project guy, right?
He has all the athletic ability to be that guy, but you're a guy who has not even a full year at rush.
He's got the same experience playing pass rusher that you guys do. You know what I mean? He's converted inside backer.
Yeah, you see my middle school tape there, Jordan.
More times than not, you guys got
the same physique. I can see the same physique.
He's just away. So, but the lack of rush is something I wanted to touch on. But then you were touching on this. I think if you had asked me before the preseason started, when it was just camp, James Williams has already won the middle linebacker job. But Cedric Gray has shown a ton.
Dude, I thought people were saying in training camp that Otis Reese was going to be the guy. You know what I mean?
I was high on James. James Williams was always, because he was a guy who switched positions last year too. Had to learn a lot. You could tell he's put on some more weight. Freak athlete. But we were talking before the first preseason game. Like, James Williams, I'm penciling in him. I almost wrote it in a pen. But Cedric Gray has been playing out of his mind the last 2 games and practice.
You never heard his name really mentioned much in practice. You didn't hear his name much. He wasn't ever really in on the
And he was a guy last offseason. We were like, this guy could be
he's my
linebacker
guy.
for us. Yeah, he could be the starter linebacker for us.
I'm big on Cedric Gray. I've loved that. I love that pick.
Then he had the nerve injury, and nerve injuries are just you never know how long it's going to take to get over a nerve injury. You know,
had a slow start.
Where do you sit with that battle right now?
So that's what murdered him in his rookie season. Imagine your first year in the NFL and you suffer that kind of injury. You're automatically behind the 8 ball. You're
you
behind
missed
the
all
8
of
ball.
rookie camp. You missed all of training camp.
You're probably behind the 8 ball physically and mentally too, trying to get those reps. And so that's of course why we didn't hear too much about him. And I was scared, when it comes to players like that, it's not a guarantee you come back and end up, rising to the occasion and being a potential starter. But it's so awesome to see the strides he's making. That Falcons game was absolutely incredible. I didn't expect that off of him.
We laid that wood on that running back, man.
Dude.
I'm really hoping that he turns
I do think there's a way where Denard uses all 3 of them. Cody.
They're all going to play.
And I saw this at practice before they went on the road trip. There was a play where Femi dropped down to middle linebacker, and James Williams had his hand in the dirt about to rush the quarterback. So I do think, and I think you're going to see Jeff standing up some on the outside too. You'll see some depth on this D-line change a little bit before then. I like, was it Lynch? That's his name?
Yeah.
James Lynch. So I think that's what you're going to see a lot. I think Draymond he's kind of like a Denico Autry. He'll come into the inside and go to the outside some. He's played a little bit of everything. But I think Cedric has made a case for he needs to be on the field at some point. You can't just get him on the sideline. So you're going to see all 3 of them out there.
I will say this too, like if you're asking me for a favor to start, that's kind of tough. But I'm leaning a bit towards Cedric because he has that experience playing that position. You know what I mean? Like he was that guy at UNC patrolling the second level. James, as you mentioned, is kind of making that transition. Is he more athletic? Yeah, I would say so. But Cedric kind of could be somebody who has you can be more consistent at inside backer is kind of where I'm leaning.
I can almost see like Cedric being the first and second down guy, and if they need another linebacker in there for pass coverage, he's as a safety, some more better pass coverage skills.
Yeah,
a little bit taller, a little bit more wing.
They're definitely going to put all of their skills to use this year. Those guys are all going to get some work this year for sure.
Okay. So I got one more.
Another guy on the defense, though, that's a big topic.
Yeah.
L'Jarius Sneed makes.
How confident are you that he's going to be ready for week 1?
Zero. And I mean, I'm okay with that. I don't want to rush him on the field too soon, just like Lloyd Christianberry at the same time. I don't know where he's at physically.
I think the problem is with Sneed, we don't know what's going on. Like all we knew is he had a quad bruise and we haven't seen him in a year. At least we knew what was wrong with Christianberry. We hear 2 months ago Sneed saying, I'm as healthy as I've ever been, and he's still not out there.
Which is, obviously not true because he had that lingering knee issue, which is why the Titans were able to win him away from the Colts because there were some concerns about the knee. And that's why the Chiefs probably didn't offer him top 10 money. So that's something that's not going away. That's something you're going to have to continue to manage. But I don't think we see him week 1. I would be surprised. And if he is there week 1, I don't think he's playing all the snaps. He's not going to be your every single down outside corner.
Do you feel better at like maybe third downs he comes in or something like that? Maybe like a Travis Hunter.
Sure. If the coaching staff is comfortable with him and they think that he's made strides in these 14 days, whatever we have in front of us, then they know better than me. Then for sure. Yeah. We don't know the situation. It's been very mysterious, but we do know he's activated off PUP, that he's trying to work his way back into practice, been a limited participant. So we'll kind of have to see where he goes from there.
So what do you feel better about, a 70% L'Jarius Sneed or a Daryl Baker?
Yeah, some people love Darrell Baker. They love him.
I do. I think he's a great fourth corner. The problem is without Sneed, you're one injury away from Gabe Judy Lawley being out there.
Right.
And I like Marcus Harris, but he's a 6th-round pick that has I think he has potential to be a good slot guy. Because I love Jarvis, and I think McCreary is one of the more underrated nickelback corners in the league.
For sure. And to have a Darrell Baker be your legitimate number 2 when you're going into Denver week 1 is against Bo Nix is kind of a scary proposition.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's where the defense we had one more with a rookie quarterback, a sketchy defense. Sounds like you don't have a very good outlook on this season. The offense looks like it could be fun, but it feels like a minor league Bengals team.
Ooh, so I hope it's not a minor league Bengals team.
I think our defense is better than the Bengals, honestly.
Yeah. I'm not saying that. I think they can be better than what the Bengals were, which was an absolute disaster last year. But
absolutely.
I want to see adjustments too, because there were times last year with the Titans, they would start off in a close game, like Detroit, right? That Detroit game was all of a sudden kind of close and tough in the beginning, and then they blew it wide open. And then there were some games where they got wiped off the face of the earth from the opening snap, like what happened in Washington. I want to see the defense be able to hold their ground. That's what I want to see, because if they can't, then we're talking about Bengals territory. But I think the Titans defense can be decent. I'm hoping that's around league average, and having Denard Wilson there is someone who I'm optimistic with. But when we're talking about the personnel at face value, that's where I'm a little sketchy. Maybe Cody Barton is kind of the X factor there. Maybe it's Cedric Gray. Maybe your 2nd-round pick, Femi, ends up having a really productive rookie season, which would be an absolute answer to a prayer.
I think that's something you might see towards the second half of the season, Femi really coming on once he finally starts getting some real in-game reps.
But
if you could get some really good – go ahead.
I said I'm going to be so upset if Mike Green wins Defensive Rookie of the Year with Baltimore and we picked Femi over him, right?
Yeah. I think
picking him in the 2nd round was tough. If you picked him in the 4th round or something like that, that's a really exciting project, and maybe he can be kind of a year 1 guy who makes an impact. When you're taking an objective project, we don't know how the project is going to turn out, but you're taking a legitimate project with that high of a pick. That's just a philosophy you're never going to get me to agree with. That's
more times than not, those projects don't become superstars. They can become really good players and be effective on your team. But more times than not, there's not a lot of projects in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, like Anthony Richardson.
Right. Thank goodness. Gosh,
I think, but if you can be anything, anywhere on this team, anywhere on it, offense, defense, whatever, if you're top 16, and that you should feel good about it. That's kind of where we're at. If you're the top half of the league in any stat, you should feel good about that.
Oh yeah,
100%.
100%.
So hold on, we got whole lot of very warranted pessimism in here. But give me an give me an underrated part of this team. Who could surprise some folks? I think Calvin Ridley. I think he could really, him and Cam, he could be legitimate looked at as like a top 12 guy again after this season.
I mean, I would love it. I would love for it to be Femi, but maybe I'll lean towards Iron Manor, the rookie wide receiver.
That's who I was. Thank you. Yes, that's what I'm looking for a great rookie year out of.
Van Jefferson can't catch. He's obviously
we learned that. We learned that, right? If you're gonna have a guy who's just like a veteran presence, why not get like Amari Cooper?
Yeah,
who's be a better
very
presence.
strange. He's still available. I don't know what. Especially
like I'm almost frustrated that he's going to be on the team and Restrepo is probably not going to make. Like seriously, like I know that's crazy and Restrepo is what he is and stuff, but God, Van is going to.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But
Io Manor is the guy I'm kind of picking because when we entered this offseason, it's something I said something that I've been saying for a lot of off seasons is I want another wide receiver too, like a perimeter threat, not a Tyler Lockett slot guy. I want to see like an Io Manor, and he struggled with some drops. Yeah, or Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm would be a great one, dude. I mean, I love that guy. I think he's kind of the tight end one of the future. With Chig, he's someone who you kind of move around, but I feel like Gunnar would be more of a consistent presence in your base alignment.
Yeah.
So Gunnar Helm is really so. I guess the answer to your question is every rookie. It's just
the fourth round rookies. The fourth round rookies. Give me those pass catchers.
I've actually said that I think Gunnar Helm will probably. I think he ends up taking more snaps by the end of the year this year than Chig.
Yeah, that would not. I wouldn't shock anyone. I don't think. I think you're right about that.
Yeah,
we're coming close.
He's a more complete player. You know, he was one of my more. I was really excited about that pick this year.
We have Jordan.
Where we got him
Jordan for a few more minutes. So. We had to because we talked about how bad it was last season. How much better can this special teams be with Coach Fossil? The changing. I mean, the only core person still here is Morgan Cox. So how much better can this team be just under Coach?
Only one way to go.
But I think he's coached some of the best special teams in the league of all time. You know,
and I think coaching with special teams is basically everything, right?
Yeah.
I think when you have a guy who's absolutely solidified. A special teams legend, dare I say, it's going to be better. The personnel is not as important in my opinion because you're playing a lot of backups with special teams. If you have good coaching, then you're automatically going to be improved. I'm still a little bit worried about the kicker. Joey Sly has been a bit inconsistent just throughout his career. He's got a big leg, but he's not always been inconsistent.
Right.
So I would hate if we went down the avenue of saying, you know, why didn't we keep Nick Folk or we shouldn't have gotten Joey Sly? I think that's very possible. But in terms of not having blocked punts and being able to contain in punt coverage, I think that automatically will be upgraded with the coach you have in-house now.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Since we were just talking about the receivers, how many do you realistically see making this team and who are they?
So what? Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson,
the two rookies,
Jim, Io Manor, James Prochet, Bryce Oliver. That's kind of where I'm at now.
I think that's it right there. Yeah.
Because I was saying 7 too, and at first I was all saying, you know, Restrepo, but Prochet has put a lot of good stuff on it, and not just in the return because that's who he is primarily. He's made some catches again too.
I mean, they essentially just came out and said it outright that they're not super confident in DK.
Well, that kind of
returning.
He kind of talked in around. He said that, but he also said he's got to beat. Like no rookie is given a position on the special teams.
Right.
You better earn.
And it's going to be Prochet, I think, for now. So.
Yeah.
I mean, he's objectively been the best returner. That's how he's going to make that roster. Right? Hey, he's available. If you want to go get him, Ryan Stonehouse is a free agent.
That really shows how bad that injury really messed him up because
he's always been a power guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he just lost all kinds of hang time. You say he's have some hang time with it, but
it's also more punting than just kicking it as hard as you can.
Yeah, that's what people didn't realize. They're like, okay. So, I have one more? Do you have any more questions for Jordan?
No. I mean, the last thing I had was like Titans Vikings, but we can do that just kind of briefly. I mean, I think we're going to get more stuff.
We're not going to see a lot. I don't know. Is McCarthy playing? I know we'll probably get a couple series from the Titans starters.
Jeff said, I think, in my opinion, I would like to see all of the starters for at least one drive on both sides. I think
the only person Jeff said it's up to him and he wants to play. So I mean, you might see Jeff for a series.
Jeff wants. The
only person I think you might not see I don't think you'll see Ridley because he's kind of been out already. But like from
Yeah.
the people that are healthy, Zeiler, I don't think you'll see Zeiler out there.
Like, what's up with Sweat this week, actually, as well? That's
So he was
actually
out with the
looking at-
ab at first, and then he had like his tonsillitis or something like that. So
I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
he should be back ready for the season as long as nothing else
Okay.
happens.
So
But
he
the
didn't
ab
practice this
thing,
week either.
It would surprise me if Jeff suited up. That'd be cool. That'd be very cool. He hasn't played in a preseason since 2021, maybe,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. I heard people talking on 104.5 today saying he's never played. And I was like, no, he's played at least in like 2021, I believe.
I know he missed the
hasn't played
rookie year
much.
because he was hurt. He didn't play that year, but I
And
think
then
he
the
played
next
his
year was like COVID, right? Next year was COVID.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
maybe, yeah. Okay. My last question then is where and how many on the waiver wire? Like, what positions did you see them going after in the waiver wire, and how many? I know we talked a little bit before the show how it's kind of a rolling thing, but initially, and maybe even throughout the whole week, how many waivers do you see them putting it in?
Yeah, so most Titans fans think that they're going to take full advantage of that number one pick in the order, which is understandable. But if you're expecting them to take 10 guys right off the bat, as soon as that time hits at 4 p.m. Central or whatever it is on August 26th or whatever, that's not going to happen in my opinion. I think you could see 4 or so. But here's the thing about the waiver wire process. It's not just one day. It's not just one claim. It's not just one selection. It's going to continue throughout the few weeks, right? So, because if you claim someone and you're the Vikings or whatever, you have to make a corresponding move. So that young player goes on waivers, and the Titans will have another chance to take someone like that. So when it's all said and done, I still think it's going to be north of 5. And maybe some people think it's something crazy like 9 or 10. I don't see that exactly happening because, again, you have to understand you're making a corresponding move every single time you add someone. So for Tennessee to drop 10 to add 10 over the course of a week or so, that sounds a little aggressive in my opinion. But I would agree with everybody in the fact that the bottom of this roster definitely needs some churning. And again, all these scouts and everyone goes through their draft processes. They have these crushes that were undrafted guys, 7th round picks, 6th round picks that won't make the initial 53-man rosters. So it's a really fun time in the NFL for you to go out there and get one of these guys that's not going to make an initial roster.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I definitely could see him adding somewhere the offensive line, defensive line depth. You're definitely going to maybe see maybe that 4th linebacker spot. So you got 3, but you're going to need a 4th.
You could see another corner. I could really
corner.
Hey, Judy Lawley. I mean, I think they're set at safety. Whether we figure out who's actually going to start, whether it's Woods, Xavier, Diggs, or Winston whenever he gets back. But I think they're set there.
It's smart to think about positional needs because that's absolutely true. But the thing about this too is like it's also the player. Like if you see
special
a
teams player,
that you weren't anticipating, that would be an amazing depth on your defensive line. Then you're going to go out there and get that guy. So I mean, I'm not confident in my prediction with like 5-6 because I truly have no idea how this is going to go. Mike Borgonzi's a brand new general manager who's taking over a rebuilding franchise. He may go crazy like a lot of people are anticipating. I'm just kind of initially against that narrative.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I can see what you're saying.
Well, time will tell, man. We'll know here shortly.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's a great day in the NFL, truly.
Yeah,
it is, man. It is.
The NFL, I say it all the
now.
time. The NFL does an amazing job of staying relevant all year long. They know how to stay relevant all year long.
Yeah, that offseason period has gotten less and less monotonous. We've been able to fill it with more and more.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I really appreciate you coming on with us, Jordan. I know I kind of hit you last minute, but I really appreciate it. So like Christian said earlier, CPN, go like and subscribe us, tell your friends. September 27th, me, Christian, Jordan, Half Batch in Hendersonville. We'll be doing a live show. We'll be talking Titans, Texans.
I hear
coming
some
up.
Texans fan is going to be there.
Curtis
His name's
from the
Curtis or something.
He'll be there too, I guess. We'll see. We might not let him in.
I really appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun talking about the Titans.
Yeah,
it was, man. Awesome. No, we really appreciate it. We know time is valuable to everyone. So for you being willing to come and step on here with a couple of amateurs on this YouTube, man, it means a lot, man, because we're still learning how to kind of, navigate this whole world. We're learning a lot, man. It's a lot of growing pains, but it's been fun, man.
It's always fun. That's all that matters, man. It's great.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Well, on that note, check, please. This is Titans table for two. Tighten up, guys.
I think the check's on Jordan.
Jordan, yeah. Thanks for paying, baby.